Next up, Barrett Wolfe, Giles Motorsport. Barrett, I think, looking at your CV, I think I read that you started in karting, but you started karting as a hobby. Can you remember the moment when it wasn't a hobby anymore and when you decided to take it more seriously?
Funny enough, I actually didn't really do karting that much. I had a little bit like rental karts and things like that, but it sort of grew into a really competitive nature and more professional thing when I first got into like a formula car and really just wanted to get better. And that was kind of it, just competitive nature.
So it was from the rental karts to the formula car. That's a big step.
It's a big jump.
So what made your mind up? Did you think, oh, I could be pretty good at this? Or
I did some driving out at a track in Las Vegas where I live in sports cars. And there was a coach that was there watching, and he said that the lap time that I was doing for someone who had no experience was actually quite good. And so he said I should start racing and get a license and whatever. And that's how we ended up here.
Now, you're a graduate of the Skip Barber
Yes.
Motorsport School, which I think probably most people of motorsport have heard about, but nobody, I guess, would really know what goes on there. Talk us through what that school is all about. Is it like a school, or you did a whole race season there, right? So
Yeah.
How did that work?
Well, you start with the school side of things to help you get your racing license, and they teach you the basics of kind of everything you would learn at a track day. Flags and just all the basic stuff, passing, practicing passing, doing all the basic things you should know before you get in a race car. And then they do run a race series, and I ran that series along some guys like Sebastian Weldon and Jackson Bell, Spencer Schmidt, and all those guys are really great, really fast. And it is pretty competitive for using such an older car, and, you know, just it's pretty competitive, and it does lead into the USF ladder. So
I think it was last weekend I was listening to you chatting with one of your engineers, and you said at the time, I think you'd made one small mistake, and you said, well, these guys, they make mistakes. There's just no time to even think about it. They just press on. And I know you're here to learn, and it's great seeing you progress and get a little bit closer to the pace every time you go out. But that learning, is that the key learning, that there's just no room for error at this level, or what else are you going to take away from this championship?
I think there's a lot to take away. The biggest thing for me and my biggest weakness was qualifying last year in F4 championship in the US. And I think that's one big takeaway for me from here is the qualifying, the overall pace, the race pace and the racecraft has improved. But qualifying pace has improved quite a lot. But I think the mental side of it is really taxing here. There's no time in between sessions. There's not a lot of time even to kick back and relax between races and reset and have a kind of a break and go again. So you have to have such a positive mindset all the time of, sure, I went off in turn one, but I go out the next session and attack it again and have a good mindset about where the car is going, what we're doing, and the direction that we're moving in. And I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Your future in racing, we've talked to Josh, we'll talk to Nikita. They're sort of looking at Indy Next or in Indy Next and going down that route. What does the future hold for you? And I know it's earlier stage in your career, but single seaters, endurance, GTs, what do you fancy?
I really like endurance, actually. I grew up watching single seaters like F1, but anything with endurance is something that's taken hold in me over the past like 3 to 4 years as I've started racing more. I think that's really the end goal, is like the big 24-hour races like Daytona and Le Mans. The Sebring 12-hour is really on my bucket list as well. As a racing driver, the track is historic and everything. I've driven that track and it's just one of my favorites.
You mentioned the intensity. When you get back on that plane and head home, what will be the one thing, looking ahead to the season ahead, that you'll say, right, okay, that was a very intense 5 weeks, but what would you like to get out of yourself by this November?
I think, honestly, when it comes to going back and doing Formula Regional in the States, just mistake-free sessions, having good a good mentality every time you get in and out of the car, and just being able to put it forward every time you go out there. I think being mistake free is a pretty important part of winning a championship. So
You're back on the FR grid in the States, and someone says, hey, you were down in New Zealand. What do you think of it? So what advice would you give to someone inquiring about coming over here?
I think there is no real advice for the challenge that this is. It is very, very difficult. The tracks are old school, they're brutal. You make one mistake, you can end up in a wall on occasion. It's really taxing, but there's nothing like it. I mean, it prepares you for everything. I mean, like you said, all the previous graduates of this program have gone on to do amazing things in Indy and Formula One and endurance racing. There is no wrong step coming here, I think.
Well, we hope you get your head around turn one, Barrett, and have an awesome weekend carrying on improving, and we look forward to watching you, mate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think I got turn one pretty down packed this last session, so I only lost about half a tenth to Zagazeta in turn one, so pretty good.
Go well, mate.
Yeah, thank you.